We're going to be working on the drawing located on page 27 of your book. This is the rocker arm design drawing. There are a lot of new concepts that this drawing brings into play. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by, first of all, making sure that our startup command is set to 1. I believe I had you previously set your startup to 0. So here you're going to set your startup to 1. In any event, type startup in your text box, hit return, make sure it's set to 1. It's likely set to either 0 or 3. Go ahead and set it to 1. What does that do? Well, what that does is that makes it so that when you type File, New, you get this Create Drawing menu. And this menu allows you to start from scratch, use a template, or use a wizard. It doesn't allow you to select a file. That's what's missing. When you add the 0, then you actually startup 0 will actually put you, I believe, in the direct open file menu. Anyway, we want to start from scratch. This particular drawing is actually in metric. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we select metric and hit OK. That's all we did here. We just used that start from scratch in order to select metric. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a couple of circles. Let's make the circle for the center. And looking here on our drawing, this center circle it's a radius of 50, and it's located in the center. Now, there's extra pieces that will get trimmed off later, but for now we're just going to put a circle in. And let's go ahead and take our circle, and I'm going to place this at 0, 0. So I'm just going to type 0, 0 for the center point, and then I'm going to type 50 for the radius. I'm then going to center it. You can see we're centered directly on 0. We have our X and Y right there on 0. Okay, so now we have a couple of small circles, smaller circles, down to the lower left. And they are located minus 50 in the X direction and minus 60 in the Y direction. So we're going to use a snap from. Now notice the inner one uses diameter. So in order to use a diameter circle, again, I'm going to set this circle up here up for diameter. So when I want the diameter circle, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to choose circle, snap from, go over to the center of this circle, hit return. Before I do that, let's come down here and make sure these settings are right. Now, in my case, they are, but in yours, they may not be. So make sure your polar tracking is on. Your auto snap should be on. And then your snap to 2D reference points should be on. So you should have those three on. I believe this one, annotation objects, is basically we leave that as always, I believe, 100% of the time. And you need those in order to get the correct tracking and snapping features. So anyway, again, circle diameter, snap from. I had to just go to the outside edge to allow me to hit that 0, 0 for the center. Now I could actually just have typed 0, 0, 0 for the snap from. And actually, for some reason, it looks like it wants to... Oh, no. It's looking on my tracking line. So if I'm off my tracking lines... And you can see sometimes it's annoying if you have a lot of tracking lines. So in that case, what we want to do here is come to the polar tracking, hit the down arrow, and just make it so we have vertical and horizontal tracking lines. And then we're less likely to hit those. So anyway, what did we say? We said we wanted to be minus 50 in the X, comma, minus 60 in the Y. Oh, and it looks like we didn't, when we changed that setting, we lost this, the original base point. So let's go back and start that again. Circle diameter. Snap from. We click on the base point. All right, so now we're on the base point. For some reason, I had to click twice there because it was picking the origin for some point. Anyway, at the point where we have offset, we want to type at minus 50, comma, minus 60. Now, in this case, if you forgot the at symbol, it would still work because that center point is 0, 0. So we could have just typed 0, 0, and we would have been fine. I hit return, and that puts our circle in. Now, it wants a diameter, and the diameter is going to be 20. So we simply type 20. I think I accidentally hit return too quick. Or I think I tapped my mouse button, actually. And when that happens sometimes, it's not a problem. So I go into quick properties, and I just change my diameter here. So I change my diameter from 100 to 20. And there's my diameter. Now the second circle is a radius of 25. So now I'm going to use my radius circle, come over here. I don't need to use the center because I already have this location. So I specify the center. And then I just want a radius of 25. I hit enter. So now up on the top here, I have a circle. Again, it's a radius of 25, and it happens to be 70 in the X and 40 in the Y. So in this case, I can do circle diameter, snap from. But because we know this is, in this case, I didn't select the snap from. And the reason I'm not selecting the snap from, I'm just, again, showing you this. Because we know, actually that's a radius circle, so we need to come down here. Because we know that this is at 0, 0, we can actually just specify the point at 70, 40. So we can simply type for the center point, we should come down here, 70, 40, and hit return. And then the radius is 25. Place that circle. Now we want to put a polygon. So a polygon creates an equilateral closed polygon. Specify different parameters, including the number of sides. The difference between the inscribed and circumscribed options is shown below. So let's see what we want here. we want a polygon and we want the distance from side to side to be 60. So in this picture, we're going to essentially do the polygon that's shown on the right for the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select polygon. And what we come down here, enter the number of sides. So we want 6 sides. So we're going to come down here. We're going to type 6. Specify the center of the polygon or the edge. So we're going to specify the center. Oh, so here we just want to specify the center. So now we can just decide where the center is going to be, and the center is going to be in the middle. Now, is it inscribed within the circle or circumscribed about the circle? So we're circumscribed about the circle. And then the radius of that circle, if edge to edge is 60, then the radius is 30. And let me show you what I mean, and what it means by circumscribed about the circle instead of within the circle. So if I come over here and I enter another circle of with diameter, and I come over to select the center, and I type 30 here. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in diameter, so we want to type 60. You see that the polygon is now within the circle. It's around the circle. So we're 60 from the center to the center. Let me go ahead and delete this. So there's our polygon. Now that 20 by 20 square located up here, and let me just go back to the drawing for a second. 20 by 20 square located here, that's also a polygon, right? That's just a 4-sided polygon. If we come down here, we type 4. We want to specify the center, so the center is going to be here. And now, is it going to be inscribed in the circle or circumscribed about the circle? Again, it's circumscribed about the circle because the 20 is the total diameter. So C is already there, so we can just type return. And now we just type the radius of the circle, which is going to be 20. And I may have gotten the angle wrong because I rotated a little bit. No. The radius was 10, and I typed 20. Okay, that's not a problem, because all we have to do is click on our polygon, and we could move the edges, but it's best, I think, probably to just delete it and start over. This is a good example of showing you what some of the errors are. This is a reason why I don't always delete my videos and start over. So let's go back to polygon. 4 sides. We want to specify the center. And then it's circumscribed about, so we just hit enter. And now we want the radius of the circle, and again, the radius is 10. And there we go. There is our polygon. Okay, so now let's put in our tangent lines. And the tangent lines are up at the top of the drawing. So these are tangent lines right here. They're tangent to the point of this circle. So to do a tangent line, we can come back to our drawing and we click on the line. Then over here, this is the tangent from the snap menu. Snap to tangent. So what we do is we come over here and you see it says deferred tangent. Well, all that means, well, sometimes it says deferred tangent. It'll either show the point or say deferred tangent. But it won't start drawing the line until you put both in. There we go, deferred tangent. So I type return, and then I want to specify the second point. Now to specify the second point, I have to come back up here and choose tangent again. Get deferred tangent. Now you have to be careful. You can't click. It's possible to click and put a line to the quadrant points. There's the deferred tangent. Now let me show you what happens if you put a line to the quadrant points. If I blow this up, you see that that line never crosses the circle. Doesn't matter how much I extend that zoom. I'm going to delete this again, and I'm going to do it wrong. So now I'm going to forget to click on this tangent. And you come down here, you see I can start a line here. Well, then I can end a line there. And you can see I cross through the circle over here. Well, that's not a tangent line. So I have to come over here. I choose tangent. Come down here. Once I see the symbol, I click. Come up here. Before I click over here, I have to go back to tangent. Otherwise, I will put the line on that quadrant point. And then I can hit return. I'm sorry, click on the mouse button. And I do want to point that out. I think I may have mentioned that a couple of times. And I don't always catch myself. Sometimes I will say hit return when I actually mean hit the mouse button. So if you do get a case where something does not happen as you expect, check and see if that was the issue. And I do apologize for that. I am getting better, but occasionally I still make mistakes. So now again, I'm going to do the other line. So I click on the line, snap to tangent. I started here. I come back and I click on snap to tangent, and then I click there, and that finishes that line. Okay, so now the bottom part of this drawing, the lines are different. We don't have a straight tangent line. We have a curve. And you see that number? That we have a radius here. Radius of 50. And although it's not shown here, it's implied that over here the radius is 50 as well. So how do we go ahead and do this? This is where we're going to use the tan radius circle. And you can do this wrong and then you delete it and do it correctly, but I'll show you what can happen. So first of all, up in circle here, we come over here and we can just choose tan radius. So the way tan radius is, you don't have to do a snap first, because as you can see, it says specify a point on the object for the first tangent. So we're going to have one tangent over here. So I'm going to choose right here. And I'm choosing the inside part of the circle. And in a minute, I'll show you why. And now it wants the second tangent. So I'm going to come down here. Again, I'm choosing the inside part of the circle, not out here somewhere, closest to this circle. Click there. And now it simply wants the radius. So just looking back here quickly, the radius is 50. Again, this radius will be the same as that radius. So we simply type 50. And that draws the circle in. Now let me show you what happens if you happen to choose the outside parts of the circle. Because sometimes you'll want to do that. So when I choose tan radius, I'm going to do it up here. If I choose, let's say, out here somewhere, and then out here somewhere, and I type my radius 50, oh, what do you know? It still worked. I guess I need to go farther out. Ah, you know why? That's because of the size of the circle. Because the circle is so small. So anyway, the point I was going to make, which I can't make here, but I'll show it to you in another drawing, is that sometimes you'll end up with a circle in the other direction. So you could get a circle that instead of coming out this way, will come out this way. So you get a circle this way. But because this circle is rather small, I think it's impossible to do it here. So I'll show you that in another drawing. So anyway, we choose the tan, and actually the 50 actually gets remembered, so you could just hit enter. And there we have our drawing. Well, that's our drawing, except we have lots and lots of extra pieces. And now we have to delete those pieces. And to delete those pieces, we use the trim command. There are two places where you can get the trim command from. One is over here, the pair of scissors, and the other is up here, also the pair of scissors. Either or is fine. They're both exactly the same. So what do we do with the trim? So we trim objects to meet the edges. So what I do is I select trim, and if you look down here, it says select objects or select all. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm selecting trim lines. So when you're selecting trim lines, you're selecting things that are going to stay in your drawing. So things that are staying in my drawing, this line and this line, portions of this circle, but I can only select the whole circle right now. So I'm going to select the whole circle. And then I'm going to come over here and select this whole circle. Now the trim tends to be a command that you use multiple times. So selecting those 4 items, and I select it with the mouse button, I'm now going to hit return. And now you see this change. This changed, so now it says trim. So now when I click on something, and I'm not going to click yet, you see it says select an object to trim or shift to select extend. So when I come over here, you see that darkens. So what that means is when I hit my mouse button, that's going to go away. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my mouse button, and that disappears. I hit my mouse button, this disappears. That disappears, and this disappears. So now you can see we're almost done. All we have to do is trim these other circles. So I'm going to hit escape because I'm done with this trim command, and now I have to start over. Now another thing I want to point out, and we may have to go back and do this again, is sometimes when you do trim, you trim off things that you have to then go back and change so that you can actually finish your drawing. And I'm not sure if that's the case here. It may be that we won't actually be able to trim this because this is not a complete surface now. But we'll find out in a second. So I'm going to go back to trim, and now my trim objects become this, this, and that. And then I hit enter, and I come over here, and that is not the case here. And I can see I can delete that, and I can delete that. I hit escape, and at this point, our drawing is done. We should save it. So we will file, save as, and we're going to call this rocker arm. And we'll click save. And I'm going to stop the recording now.